Why do you keep waiting for the perfect moment to act? Why do you let fear, doubt, and endless overthinking hold you back? Doesn't it burn to feel stuck, watching others move forward while you're still trapped in your head? What if I told you that this constant battle of thoughts, the analysis that tears you apart inside, is exactly what's stopping you from living the life you've always dreamed of? The Stoics knew this all too well. They understood that the mind is the battlefield, and it's not about thinking more, but thinking better. The truth is, your mind is sabotaging you, and it's time to take control. This video will challenge everything you think you know about success and productivity. It's time to stop overthinking and start acting with clarity. If you're ready to break free from this mental prison, please subscribe. By doing so, you're not just supporting the channel. You're choosing to step into a life of self-mastery, clarity, and purpose. This is the path to becoming the person you were meant to be. We've all been there, caught in a spiral of thoughts that never seem to stop. The what-ifs pile up, one after the other, like an endless wave crashing over you, leaving you gasping for clarity. It's the voice inside your head that tells you to keep thinking, to keep analyzing, to find the perfect solution before you act. But here's the truth, one that you might not want to hear. Overthinking isn't thinking at all. It's just procrastination dressed up as productivity. It's like you're in a maze, running in circles, telling yourself you're making progress, when, in reality, you're stuck. The Stoics knew this struggle all too well. Marcus Aurelius, in his wisdom, said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be one." In other words, stop overthinking the ideal version of yourself. Stop imagining how things could be and start doing what you can today. The world doesn't reward thoughts alone, it rewards action. No matter how much you think about a decision, it won't bring you any closer to the clarity you crave. The most effective path forward is to take a step, to act, and then adjust as you go. The Stoics understood that clarity only comes through action. It's not about making the perfect plan. It's about taking imperfect steps that move you closer to your goals. How many times have you found yourself stuck in the mental loop, thinking you just need one more thought to make the perfect decision, only to realize it never comes? The truth is, overthinking doesn't bring you answers. It just paralyzes you in uncertainty. The longer you wait for perfect clarity, the more time you waste. So take a deep breath and ask yourself, how much longer are you going to wait? How much time are you willing to spend in this cycle of inaction? The only way to break free is to act, even if it's messy at first. The Stoics believed that the road to wisdom isn't paved with endless thinking, but with decisive action. It's time to stop thinking your way out of action and start doing, because that's where true growth happens. The act of overthinking is the mind's way of avoiding discomfort. It convinces you that if you just think about it more, you'll be more prepared, more ready. But in reality, you're only delaying the inevitable. You're avoiding the discomfort of making a decision, of facing the fear of failure. And let's be honest, failure isn't the end. It's a lesson, a stepping stone on the path to success. Overthinking holds you back from moving forward and learning from those small failures. The fear of making the wrong decision often outweighs the fear of doing nothing at all. But here's a secret the Stoics understood deeply. It's better to make a decision, even a wrong one, than to make none at all. Seneca put it perfectly. It is not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It is because we do not dare that they are difficult. Fear makes things seem harder than they are. When you overthink, you blow things out of proportion. You make problems bigger than they need to be. But the act of making a decision, no matter how small, cuts through that fear and gives you the power to move forward. You see, the act of making decisions isn't just about finding the right answer. It's about building momentum. Every decision, whether it's right or wrong, propels you forward. And with each step, you become more confident, more capable. The top achievers, the ones who truly master their craft, are the ones who aren't afraid to make decisions quickly, to take action even when the full picture isn't clear. The more you practice this, the easier it gets. It's not about having all the answers up front. It's about having the courage to act and trust that the answers will come. It's about knowing that the real clarity comes not from thinking more, but from moving more. Think about the times when you've taken action, even when you weren't 100% sure. Those moments of courage, of stepping into the unknown, are when the magic happens. When you're in motion, you learn, you adapt, and you grow. But when you're stuck in the endless loop of thought, nothing changes. So, instead of waiting for the perfect moment, make the decision to act now. It might not be perfect, but it will be progress. And in the end, progress is all that matters. Don't waste another minute trying to figure it all out. Stop overthinking and start doing. The Stoic way is to trust the process, take the first step, and know that you'll figure it out as you go. That's where the real power lies, in the courage to begin. Here's the kicker. The simpler your thoughts, the clearer your decisions. It sounds almost too easy, doesn't it? But simplicity is the key that unlocks clarity. The top 1% aren't bogged down by complexity. They don't get tangled in overanalyzing every detail. Instead, they strip away the noise, the distractions, and focus on what truly matters. And when you do that, when you simplify your thinking, you create space for the decisions that will actually move you forward. Epictetus understood this perfectly. He said, "It's not the events in our lives that disturb us, but our judgments about them." In other words, it's not the world that causes chaos, it's the way we choose to interpret it. The more we add to a situation, the more we make it complicated, the harder it becomes to see the path ahead. But when you take away those layers, you're left with pure clarity. So, what happens when you stop complicating things? You become unstoppable. When you simplify your thoughts, you strip away the weight of overthinking, and you give yourself the freedom to act. It's like cleaning up a cluttered room. The more you clear out, the more you can focus on what's important. And when you're focused, there's nothing that can stand in your way. Every time you make something more complicated than it needs to be, you create barriers for yourself. You create hesitation, doubt, and confusion. The truth is, the less you think about, the easier it is to make the right decisions. Complexity breeds uncertainty. Simplicity, on the other hand, breeds action. When you remove the distractions, you can actually see where you're headed. You're no longer bogged down by unnecessary details, and you can finally move forward with confidence. The problem with complexity is that it trickles into every aspect of our lives. We start complicating our goals, our decisions, our relationships, everything. We overanalyze our every move, as if perfection is the ultimate goal. But in the process, we end up paralyzing ourselves. The perfect plan, the perfect situation, it's a myth. Life doesn't work that way. The Stoics knew that a life well lived isn't about chasing perfection, but about embracing simplicity and focus. In fact, Seneca once said, "There is no easy way from the earth to the stars." Life's challenges won't be solved by complicating things. They'll be solved by choosing the path that is simplest, even if it's the most uncomfortable one. The top 1% don't wait for the perfect plan to fall into their laps. They take what they have, simplify it, and move forward. Every decision doesn't need to be weighed down with countless possibilities. The key is taking action based on what you know and moving with clarity. Think about the times when you've felt most stuck. How often has it been because you were overcomplicating things in your head? You thought too much, wondered if you were making the right choice, and then ended up doing nothing at all. When you simplify your thoughts, you clear away the clutter, and with that space, you open yourself up to real progress. When the fog of confusion lifts, you can see exactly where you need to go, and that's the power of simplicity. It cuts through the noise and lets you focus on what truly matters. Every successful person, every leader, every high achiever, they all understand this. They don't get lost in the details. They focus on the one thing that will move them forward, and they do it without hesitation. In a world where complexity is often praised, simplicity can feel like an afterthought. We're constantly told to keep improving, keep refining, keep striving for more. But the secret that the top 1% know is that more isn't always better. In fact, more often than not, it gets in the way. The less you complicate things, the more powerful your decisions become. You stop wasting energy on unnecessary thinking and start using that energy to act. Instead of trying to plan every detail, you start trusting yourself, trusting the process, and moving forward with confidence. The less you add to your thoughts, the clearer they become, and the clearer they become, the easier it is to act. The truth is, you're already capable of achieving what you want. You just need to stop making it so complicated. Every time you simplify your thoughts, you create a path forward that's clearer, stronger, and more direct. You stop getting stuck in the labyrinth of your own mind, and that's when the magic happens. Simplicity allows you to move freely, confidently, and without hesitation. You stop worrying about all the things that could go wrong, and you start focusing on what you can control. When you let go of the unnecessary, you make room for the essential. You stop wasting time on what doesn't matter and start putting all your energy into what will actually get you closer to your goal. And when you do that, you become unstoppable. The paradox of simplicity is this: the more you strip away, the more you gain. Most people see the world in black and white. It's either success or failure, good or bad, right or wrong. This kind of thinking is simple, it feels easy, and it's everywhere around us. Society tells us that things must fit into neat categories. But here's the problem: the world doesn't work like that. The top 1% understand this, and it's one of the reasons they are able to achieve what they do. They see the world as it is, messy, complex, full of nuance. They don't get trapped in the either-or mindset. They embrace the power of and. The Stoics, the great philosophers of ancient times, embraced paradoxes. They knew that holding conflicting truths together wasn't a weakness, it was a strength. Marcus Aurelius taught us that the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. It's this idea that by accepting life's contradictions, we grow stronger. The moment we stop trying to fit everything into an oversimplified box is when we unlock our true potential. The Stoics didn't shy away from complexity. They leaned into it, recognizing that life's challenges weren't something to avoid, but something to learn from. This perspective is not just a philosophical idea. It's a practical way of thinking that helps people thrive. It's what separates those who make excuses from those who move forward, no matter what. Think about it for a moment. You can be successful and still be figuring it out. Success isn't a destination. It's a journey, a messy process where you learn, adapt, and grow along the way. You don't have to have it all figured out before you act. You can be afraid and still take action. Fear doesn't need to paralyze you. It's simply a feeling that you can experience without letting it control you. The top 1% understand this better than anyone. They're not waiting for fear to vanish before they make a move. They act in spite of it. And they do the same with failure. You can fail and still learn. Failure isn't the end. It's simply feedback, a necessary part of growth. The top 1% don't view failure as a reason to stop. They use it as a stepping stone. They understand that each failure is a lesson that gets them closer to success. This shift from or thinking to and thinking opens up a new world of possibilities. When you use or, you limit yourself. It's a rigid, restrictive way of thinking that can box you into false dichotomies. But and thinking is expansive. It allows you to hold two seemingly opposing truths at the same time and move forward with them both. It's not about being perfect. It's about accepting imperfection and moving forward anyway. Life isn't simple. It's complicated. It's messy. And the sooner we embrace that complexity, the sooner we can stop wasting time trying to make it all fit into an impossible mold. The top 1% aren't immune to fear or failure, but they've learned how to work with it. They don't let it define them. Instead of saying, "I'm afraid, so I won't act," they say, "I'm afraid, but I will act anyway." They embrace the complexity of their emotions, their fears, their failures, and still, they keep moving. They've learned to use the word "and." You can be afraid and still move forward. You can fail and still succeed. You can be unsure and still take the next step. This is the strength of the "and." It gives you the mental flexibility to face life's contradictions head-on without being paralyzed by them. Start using "and" instead of "or" in your toughest moments. When you're facing a difficult decision, don't limit yourself to thinking it's either one thing or another. Embrace the complexity. Recognize that both options might be true. This doesn't mean you have to choose everything or make every situation perfect. It simply means that you give yourself permission to navigate the messiness of life without forcing everything to fit neatly into one box. When you begin to use "and" thinking, you stop seeing life as a battle of opposites. Instead, you start seeing it as a web of interconnected possibilities. This kind of thinking doesn't paralyze you, it empowers you. It gives you the clarity to take action even when things don't seem perfect. Resilience comes from this flexibility. It comes from accepting that life won't always be straightforward, and that's okay. You can have doubts and still move forward. You can fail and still learn. You can be uncertain and still take the next step. This is how you build mental toughness. By moving through life with the understanding that both successes and failures, both fears and courage, can coexist, you open yourself up to real growth. You stop boxing yourself into a corner with rigid rules about how things should be, and you start embracing life as it truly is, a beautiful, complicated and messy journey. When you stop limiting yourself with awe, you free yourself to experience life in its full complexity. And the more you practice this, the more you realize that the things you once thought were obstacles, fear, failure, uncertainty, are actually just parts of the process. They're not things to avoid, they're things to embrace. The more you embrace the complexity, the more resilient and capable you become. And that's when you'll start seeing real progress. You'll stop waiting for things to be perfect. You'll stop overthinking every decision. You'll stop seeing life as an either-or scenario and start seeing it as a beautiful "and," a place where you can be everything you need to be, even while you're still growing. So, take a moment and reflect on how much you've been limiting yourself by thinking in absolutes. Life is messy, but the more you embrace that mess, the clearer everything becomes. Here's a framework that could change everything for you: inversion thinking. Instead of always asking yourself, "How can I succeed?" flip the question. Ask, "What would guarantee failure?" It might sound counterintuitive, but this mental switch can help you avoid major pitfalls before they even become an issue. The beauty of inversion thinking is that by focusing on what could go wrong, you prepare yourself to sidestep those dangers and stay on track. The Stoics, in their infinite wisdom, understood the power of this approach. They had a term for it: premeditatio malorum, or the premeditation of evils. They didn't dwell on fear or failure, but they practiced mentally preparing for the worst-case scenario. Why? Not because they were afraid of it, but because they knew that when you are prepared for disaster, you can act with calm clarity when things don't go according to plan. Imagine this. Rather than obsessing over success, spend some time considering what could go wrong. It's like the Stoic practice of premeditating the challenges ahead, anticipating the difficulties so you can avoid being blindsided. It's a powerful way to reduce the impact of obstacles, because when you've already mentally rehearsed how to deal with them, they no longer feel as threatening. Carl Jung once said, "Knowing your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darknesses of other people." This applies to our own lives as well. By acknowledging the potential for failure, you're not surrendering to it, you're simply becoming aware of it. Awareness is the first step to gaining control over your future actions. Now think about your own life. What's the biggest threat to your success? What's the thing that you fear might derail your plans? Maybe it's the fear of rejection, the fear of failure, or the fear of making the wrong choice. Whatever it is, acknowledging that threat, examining it, and understanding what could cause it to happen is a crucial part of moving forward. Once you've identified what might go wrong, you'll have the power to prevent it from stopping you. For example, if you're afraid of failing at a business venture, you can start by considering what would make that venture fail. Is it a lack of planning? Is it not having the right team in place? Is it failing to recognize early warning signs? Once you identify these potential failure points, you can actively work on strategies to avoid them. It's not about making failure your focus. It's about making sure you don't walk blindly into it. The Stoics were masters of this mental preparation. They didn't fear the worst. They prepared for it. By imagining the worst possible outcome, they could calmly deal with challenges as they arose. This practice didn't make them more anxious, it made them stronger. They learned that by embracing failure in their minds before it happened, they could face adversity with a level of peace that most people would find impossible. This is why inversion thinking is such a game changer. It allows you to view problems from a different angle, to shift your focus from an idealized version of success to a more grounded, realistic path. It's about being strategic, not just in thinking about how to win, but in how to avoid losing. Think about the times in your life when things went wrong. How many of those failures could have been avoided if you'd spent more time anticipating them, preparing for them, and understanding how to navigate them? Most of the time, we get caught up in the excitement of moving forward, and we forget to check for the dangers lurking ahead. But when you start practicing inversion thinking, you're no longer rushing blindly forward. You're walking with your eyes wide open, anticipating obstacles before they hit you. This doesn't mean you have to plan for every possible failure, but it does mean you're giving yourself a mental blueprint for handling challenges as they arise. Once you start identifying these failure points in your life, you'll see a shift in your decision-making. You'll stop making choices based purely on optimism and start making them based on realism. You'll focus not only on what could go right, but also on what could go wrong, and from that balanced perspective, you'll make smarter, more calculated decisions. The beauty of this is that when you understand the potential pitfalls, you stop fearing them. You stop seeing them as insurmountable obstacles, and instead start seeing them as just another part of the journey. And when you're no longer afraid of failure, you can move forward with more courage and confidence. To practice inversion thinking, simply ask yourself, what would guarantee failure in this situation? It could be anything from poor planning to lack of preparation, from ignoring your intuition to neglecting your health. Identify those risk factors and work backward from them. What can you do to avoid those scenarios? This exercise is incredibly empowering because it doesn't just leave you with a list of potential problems, It gives you actionable steps to address them. And by taking control of the things that could go wrong, you are also taking control of the things that will go right. The more you incorporate inversion thinking into your life, the less you'll fear failure. You won't be stuck in a cycle of worrying about everything that could happen because you'll already be prepared. When you see obstacles ahead, they won't feel like threats. They'll just be opportunities to apply your well-thought-out plan. That's the real power of this mental framework. It's not about eliminating all risk, but about understanding it so you can navigate it with confidence. By looking at problems from the opposite angle, you'll start to see that success isn't just about what you do right. It's also about avoiding the things that could go wrong. So, take a moment to think about your current goals. What's standing in your way? What do you fear could prevent you from reaching them? Embrace inversion thinking and ask yourself, what would guarantee failure in this situation? By understanding your own potential for failure, you gain the insight you need to prevent it. And in doing so, you pave the way for true success. You've been there, haven't you? Sticking with something that's clearly not working, yet you keep going. Why? Because you've already invested so much time, energy, or money that it feels impossible to stop. You convince yourself that giving up means you've wasted all that effort. But here's the truth. Staying in something that no longer serves you is the real waste. This is the sunk cost fallacy at play, and it's what keeps so many people stuck in situations they know aren't right. The Stoics understood this better than anyone. They knew that the past is gone, and all we can control is the present and the future. Seneca put it this way: we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. In other words, the pain we feel from past decisions often comes from our minds, from the idea of what we've already invested, not the actual consequences of moving on. Think about it. How many times have you held on to something, whether it was a project, a job, or even a relationship, just because you didn't want to admit that your investment wasn't paying off? The longer you stay in a situation that isn't right, the more it drains you. And what's worse, the more time you spend invested in something that's not aligned with your goals, the less time you have to pursue what truly matters. The truth is, we all carry baggage. It could be a business venture that's failing, a relationship that's no longer fulfilling, or a personal goal that isn't working out. The reason you keep holding on is because your mind tricks you into thinking that the time, effort, and resources you've already put in somehow justify staying on a path that's no longer helping you. But here's a powerful question. If you had no investment in this thing, would you choose it today? If not, then it's time to let go. It's not easy to walk away. It feels counterintuitive. It feels like you're admitting defeat, but the truth is, it's the opposite. Letting go is an act of strength, not weakness. It's a commitment to yourself, to your growth, and to your future. You see, the longer you stay in a situation that no longer serves you, the more you delay your potential. You're holding on to the past at the expense of your future. And it's not just about material investments, it's also emotional. Sometimes we stay in situations because we don't want to admit we were wrong. We get caught up in the idea of what might have been, instead of facing the reality of what is. But the only way to truly move forward is to stop letting your past dictate your future. The Stoics knew that the past cannot be changed, so there's no point in dwelling on it. They believed in focusing on what you can control right now. This mindset isn't just a philosophical ideal, it's a practical one. It's a way of cutting through the emotional clutter that holds you back. The pain you feel from holding on is only amplified by your refusal to move on. When you let go of something that no longer serves you, you create space for something better to enter your life. It's like clearing out old, unused items from your closet. You make room for new things that actually fit your needs. This concept doesn't just apply to big life decisions, it applies to daily choices as well. Every time you hold on to something that isn't working, whether it's a thought pattern, a habit, or a project, you're tying yourself to the past. But the future, the one that holds your potential, is waiting for you to cut those ties. The more you hold on, the less you can move forward. So, start asking yourself, what's weighing me down? What have I been holding on to out of fear, pride, or guilt? If I had no investment in this, would I still choose it? If not, it's time to make a change. This isn't about giving up. It's about moving toward something better. When you stop holding on to what no longer serves you, you free yourself to step into the life you're meant to live. The moment you let go, you open up new possibilities. You no longer waste energy on something that's only holding you back. Instead, you redirect that energy toward growth, toward things that will actually move you closer to your goals. If you're stuck in a situation because you've already invested so much, ask yourself, is this really what I want for myself? Is this really worth it? Or is it just my fear of loss keeping me locked in place? When you start to let go, you'll feel the weight lifting off your shoulders. You'll begin to see clearly again, without the burden of past decisions clouding your judgment. And this clarity is what will allow you to make better choices in the future. Your growth happens when you stop dragging along everything that weighs you down. It's when you give yourself permission to move on from things that no longer serve you that you'll start to experience real progress. Whether it's a career, a relationship, or a long-standing habit, letting go is the key to unlocking the next chapter of your life. The Stoics didn't just accept the present moment, they actively worked to shape their future by letting go of anything that wasn't in alignment with their purpose. The same principle applies to you today. If something isn't serving your growth, it's time to walk away. Let go of the past so you can embrace the future. That's where your true power lies. How often do you find yourself juggling multiple things at once, thinking that the more you do, the more you'll accomplish? It feels like you're being productive, doesn't it? But here's the truth. Multitasking isn't the productivity hack we think it is. In fact, it's actually slowing you down. The more you try to do, the less you actually get done. Think about it. How many times have you spread yourself thin, trying to handle everything, only to realize that the important things are slipping through the cracks? The top 1% don't try to improve everything at once. Instead, they focus on the bottleneck. They identify what's holding them back, and they pour all their energy into solving that single issue. Let's take weight loss as an example. Imagine you're going to the gym every day, doing cardio, pushing yourself to burn calories. But then, every night, you're binge eating, sabotaging your efforts. You're doing a lot, but you're not addressing the real problem. The cardio is great, but it's not the root cause of your struggle. The binge eating is the bottleneck, the one factor that's keeping you from seeing results. It's the same in business, in personal growth, and in life. You can optimize 100 different things, but if you're ignoring the one thing that's truly holding you back, you'll never make real progress. The top performers know this. They don't waste time trying to fix everything at once. They focus their energy on the bottleneck, the thing that, if solved, will create the most significant breakthrough. The idea of multitasking has been glorified for years, but it's time to debunk the myth. Multitasking isn't about doing more, it's about doing less and doing it better. Think about the last time you tried to juggle multiple projects at once. How many of them were completed with the attention and care they deserved? More often than not, we end up spreading ourselves too thin, trying to get everything done, but in reality, we're barely completing anything. The top 1% don't get distracted by a million things at once. Instead, they zoom in on the one thing that needs attention, the thing that will move the needle the furthest, and they give it their undivided focus. Carl Jung once said, Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes. This wisdom reminds us that real clarity comes from focusing inward, identifying what truly matters, and honing in on it with all our energy. When you focus on the bottleneck, you stop chasing after distractions. You stop trying to fix every problem at once. Instead, you identify the one key area where your efforts will yield the most significant results. It's like trying to fix a car. If the engine is broken, no amount of washing or changing the tires is going to help. You need to focus on what's broken and fix it. And when you do, everything else starts to work better. This principle applies across the board in life. Whether it's your career, your relationships, or your personal development, the bottleneck is the area that's preventing everything else from functioning at its full potential. Take a step back and evaluate your life. What's the bottleneck? What's the one thing that, if fixed, would solve so many other problems? It could be time management, a bad habit, a toxic relationship, or a lack of focus. Once you identify that bottleneck, stop trying to fix everything else. Instead, pour your energy into addressing that one issue. You'll be amazed at how everything else begins to fall into place once you remove the obstacle that's holding you back. This is how breakthroughs happen. It's not about doing more, it's about doing the right thing. The myth of multitasking keeps us stuck in a cycle of shallow work. We check our emails while trying to work, answer calls while in meetings, and try to juggle multiple priorities at once. But this scattered approach doesn't lead to high performance. It leads to burnout, exhaustion, and a lack of progress. Instead of multitasking, try single tasking. Pick the one thing that needs your full attention and focus on that. Give it your best effort, without distractions. When you solve that bottleneck, everything else becomes easier. The key to breaking through isn't doing more, it's doing less, but doing it better. This is where the top 1% separate themselves from the rest. They don't get caught up in the chaos of trying to do it all. They understand that progress comes from focus, from identifying the one thing that, if fixed, will make everything else easier. They know that by addressing the bottleneck, they're creating exponential growth. So, the next time you feel overwhelmed, stop and ask yourself, what's the one thing that's holding me back right now? Identify that bottleneck and make it your focus. Once you solve it, you'll unlock a whole new level of productivity and success. Multitasking isn't the answer. Focus is. When you focus on the one thing that needs your attention, you'll be amazed at how quickly everything else starts to fall into place. It's not about doing more. It's about doing what matters and doing it well. So, let go of the myth of multitasking. Identify your bottleneck, tackle it head-on, and watch as the rest of your life begins to improve in ways you never thought possible. This is how breakthroughs happen. This is how you move from average to exceptional. This next principle is vital. Never make decisions when you're emotional. The Stoics, with their deep understanding of human nature, taught us this key truth. Emotions cloud judgment. When we're caught in the grip of anger, stress, or fear, our decisions often become impulsive and reactive, and that's when we make choices we later regret. It's a fundamental idea that has stood the test of time because it speaks to something universally true. When we let our emotions drive us, we lose our clarity. Think about the last time you made a decision in a rush, driven by panic or fear. How did it turn out? Was it the best decision you could have made? Or did you end up wishing you had taken a moment to breathe, to pause, and to think it through? The key to avoiding these mistakes is simple. Pause, take a breath, sleep on it. In that moment, when you feel the heat of emotion rising, give yourself the space to calm down and see the situation clearly. The The Stoics didn't just preach about managing emotions, they practiced it daily. They understood that when emotions take control, we stop seeing things for what they really are. We make decisions based on immediate reactions, not long-term reasoning. This is why Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." Our thoughts, fueled by our emotions, can either help us move forward with clarity or cloud our judgment with confusion. When we act from a place of emotional turmoil, we invite unnecessary complications into our lives. By stepping back, taking a moment to breathe, and allowing our emotions to settle, we regain control of our thoughts and, ultimately, our decisions. Emotional regulation isn't just a luxury, it's a necessity for making decisions that align with our long-term goals. Think about a time when you let your emotions get the better of you, maybe in a heated argument, or when you had to make a quick decision at work, only to regret it later. Now think about how different the outcome might have been if you had taken a step back, waited for the dust to settle, and then acted. It's not about suppressing your emotions or pretending they don't matter. It's about recognizing them, acknowledging them, and then giving yourself the space to act from a place of calm clarity. The top performers in any field don't make decisions in the heat of the moment. They know that when emotions are high, clarity is low. The power of emotional regulation is that it allows you to see the bigger picture. When you're emotionally regulated, your decisions are grounded in reason, not impulse. You stop making snap judgments that are based on fear or anxiety, and you start making choices that align with your true values and long-term objectives. This is where true confidence comes from, not from always knowing the right answer, but from trusting that you have the ability to think clearly and act wisely, even under pressure. The next time you feel overwhelmed, remind yourself, I don't make decisions when I'm emotional. It's a simple mantra, but it's a powerful one. In those moments when emotions threaten to take over, it's important to pause, reset, and give yourself permission to wait for clarity. That might mean sleeping on a decision, taking a walk to clear your head, or simply stepping away from the situation until you're able to think with a clear mind. Fear, stress, and anger are powerful forces, but they're temporary. When you allow those emotions to settle, you open the door to better judgment. Instead of reacting, you can respond thoughtfully. In today's fast-paced world, it's easy to get caught up in the urgency of every situation. We feel like we need to act now, to make a decision instantly, or else we'll miss out or fall behind. But the truth is, most decisions don't require instant action. Most of the time, taking that extra moment to pause and collect your thoughts will lead to a better outcome than rushing to make a choice in the heat of the moment. The Stoics weren't about making quick decisions. They were about making wise ones. And wisdom doesn't come from acting in haste. It comes from the ability to think clearly, to consider all angles, and to act when you're ready, not when you're overwhelmed. This practice of emotional regulation doesn't just help with big decisions. It helps with everyday choices too. Whether it's how you respond to a colleague, how you manage your time, or how you handle life's inevitable challenges, emotional regulation is the key to maintaining control and making decisions that serve you in the long run. It's about building resilience, the ability to stay calm and composed, no matter what life throws your way. When you can regulate your emotions, you stop reacting impulsively and you start responding with purpose and intent. So, next time you feel yourself getting caught up in emotion, remember this: you don't have to act right away. Give yourself the space to breathe, to reflect, and to regain your clarity. When you do, you'll find that the decisions you make are not only better, they're more aligned with your true purpose. Emotional regulation is a skill, one that takes time and practice to master, but the rewards are worth it. When you make decisions from a place of clarity rather than impulse, you start making choices that shape your life in the direction you truly want to go. The final principle that separates the top 1% from everyone else is long-term thinking. In a world obsessed with instant results, we've been conditioned to expect quick wins, fast rewards, and immediate gratification. But here's the truth. Long-term success isn't about rushing to the finish line. It's about sticking to the plan, even when progress slows, even when obstacles arise, and even when it feels like nothing is moving forward. Most people panic when they hit a roadblock. They see an obstacle and think it's time to change direction, to scrap the current plan, and to find something new. But that's the mistake most people make. They give up too soon. The top 1% know that success doesn't come from constantly jumping from one strategy to the next. It comes from the discipline to stick with what works, to trust the process, and to keep going even when the results aren't immediate. The Stoics understood this deeply. They called it ataraxia, a state of serene calm untouched by the turbulence of life. In their view, life is full of ups and downs, of victories and setbacks, but the key to enduring success lies in your ability to remain calm in the face of adversity, to keep your eyes on the long-term goal and not get distracted by temporary obstacles. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." In other words, it's not the setbacks that define your journey. It's how you respond to them. The Stoics knew that life would throw challenges their way, but they also knew that maintaining their focus, even in the hardest times, would be what ultimately led to success. This kind of long-term thinking requires a level of patience and resilience that most people simply aren't willing to cultivate. But it's precisely this trait that the top 1% possesses. To think like the top 1%, you need to understand that success isn't about quick wins. It's about playing the long game. It's about showing up every day, even when the progress feels slow. Think of any significant achievement, whether it's building a successful career, creating a lasting relationship, or mastering a skill. These things don't happen overnight. They take years of dedication, effort, and patience. And yet, most people quit long before they see the results they're working toward. They get discouraged when things don't happen as quickly as they hoped, and they abandon their plans for something that promises faster results. But the top 1% doesn't fall for that temptation. They trust the process. They understand that the real rewards come from consistency and perseverance, not from finding the easiest shortcut to success. There's a certain beauty in long-term thinking. It allows you to endure setbacks without losing your sense of purpose. It gives you the strength to keep pushing forward when others would give up. You'll encounter times when everything seems uncertain, when nothing seems to be moving, and you might even question if the whole journey is worth it. But if you have long-term thinking, you will recognize these moments for what they are: temporary challenges, not permanent roadblocks. Long-term thinking lets you weather the storms without panicking or changing course. Instead of making impulsive decisions to shift strategies, you stay grounded in your purpose. You trust the process, trust the data, and keep your focus on the end goal. Think about it. Your greatest success will likely come from your ability to outlast the challenges, to keep going when others have given up. In those moments, when you feel like throwing in the towel, that's when the true test of your resolve begins. The top 1% knows this. They're not immune to hardship or doubt. They simply understand that true success comes from pushing through those moments. They understand that it's the ability to keep moving forward when progress slows, and the ability to stay committed to your plan when everything feels uncertain that separates the achievers from the dreamers. When everyone else is quick to jump to a new idea or strategy because they didn't get the results they wanted right away, the top 1% stick to their plan, and keep building step by step, day by day. And eventually, that persistence pays off. Long-term thinking is not just about setting a goal, it's about aligning your actions with that goal every single day, even when things feel stagnant. It's about building a foundation that can withstand time and adversity. It's about understanding that success is not a sprint, it's a marathon. The top 1% embrace this mindset because they know that the world will always try to pull them in different directions. But only those who stay the course will ultimately find the success they seek. They build their lives on the rock-solid foundation of patience, perseverance, and consistency. So, the next time you find yourself in a tough spot, when you feel like you're not getting the immediate results you want, remind yourself of the bigger picture. Don't let temporary setbacks derail your long-term goals. Recognize that true success is built over time, not overnight. Be patient with the process. Trust in the small, consistent actions that will lead you to where you want to go. Keep your focus on the end goal and know that every step, no matter how small, is one step closer to achieving it. The top 1% understand this because they don't just think about the next win. They think about the journey, the long game, and the legacy they're building. This is the kind of thinking that will help you push past the difficult moments and keep moving towards success, no matter how long it takes. Remember, success isn't a sprint, it's a marathon. The top 1% don't give up when things get tough. They dig in, stay focused, and keep pushing forward. The path to greatness is built one step at a time with patience, persistence, and unwavering resolve. If you found value in this video, take a moment to watch one of the suggested videos on the screen. Thank you for being a part of Stoic Journal. Keep reflecting, keep growing, and keep moving toward your true potential.